I will never forget the first time that I went solo camping. I was absolutely terrified. I had so much anxiety about, all the things that I thought that could go wrong. I was just terrified, and for no good reason. It's just that I have really bad anxiety, and camping alone really triggered that anxiety. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My experience with anxiety and solo camping. That first night, I barely slept. I was worried about bears. I was worried about trees falling on me. I was worried about people coming and robbing me in the middle of the night. My mind just ran away with me, and it's so easy for that to happen. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. How my anxiety has affected my solo camping trips, my solo adventures, and how I've kind of dealt with that, and how I've grown to kind of not let my anxiety get the best of me when I'm solo camping. A lot of this comes from the fear of the unknown. What I found is that the more that I've camped solo and with other people, it gets easier and easier because it's more and more familiar. And I'm not so worried about the unknown because there isn't as much unknown. There's also an element of overthinking the worst case scenarios. But the more that you do it, the more that you realize those worst case scenarios are pretty rare. Even if you hear about things on the news, I remember when I was on my first major solo trip, there was news reports about grizzly bears attacking people in their tents. And so I just ran away with that. Like, I was in grizzly country at the time when I heard that, but not realizing that, like, that is not the norm. That is so far from the norm, and not something that you really need to be worried about, provided that you're doing the right thing with your food, and you're not bringing food into your tent, because that could obviously cause an issue. But it's so easy to start overthinking when you have anxiety anyway. This was definitely a big thing for me. Just worried about things that were out of my control. It can also be overwhelming to be in the silence and be completely alone with nobody to talk to and nobody to distract you mentally. You can really get in your head in that situation. It's important to stay busy and kind of avoid going down that deep, dark pit. And also there's a fear of having a panic attack with nobody nearby to help you. Now, before I go any further, I want to say I'm not trying to talk you out of going on a solo camping trip. I'm just expressing my struggles, and to be honest with you, I have come a long way with this. And it actually, the more comfortable I've got with solo camping and dealing with the anxiety of that, I can take that into the real world, and it helps with my anxiety, and it helps with my depression. There's so many mental health benefits of camping and being in nature, and even doing that solo. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn tips and tactics to kind of cope with anxiety if that's something you struggle with. So let's talk about some solutions. Some of the things that I did to manage my anxiety is that preparation can definitely reduce fear. The more that you're prepared, for situations that might go wrong, the more comfortable you're going to be in that situation. Another part of that is to control what you can and just accept what you can't. There's certain things that you just don't have any control over. But you can do the right thing with your food, and then you have less to worry about when it comes to animals. You can pick a more secluded, out-of-sight campsite, and then you wouldn't have to be so worried about somebody disturbing you in the middle of the night. You can check the weather ahead of time so that you know what to expect. All of this kind of stuff definitely helps me with my anxiety. This is also an excellent opportunity to try some mindfulness practices, some meditation, just really getting in touch with yourself and seeing where you're really at, checking in with yourself. For me, the quiet and the solitude, it really helps me get in tune with what's going on in my body and emotionally and everything, in a way that I can't really do in the busyness and the noise of everyday life. So it is a huge benefit for me, and it really helps me bring that into the real world, getting in touch with myself and realizing, like, hey, I need to work on this particular thing. This anxiety, I think it's coming from this, and this is what I can do to work on it, that kind of thing. It's also nice to have some positive distractions, though. Reading a book, chilling in your hammock with a good book is just, it's awesome. It's nothing better than that, especially if there's a creek nearby that you can listen to, like a babbling brook. Yeah, so, staying a little busy definitely helps, but I would also encourage you to take some time to sit with the silence and get in touch with yourself and what's going on with you. That quietness can actually be very healing. And no distractions, no phones. Hopefully you don't have cell service. So like you don't have to deal with the anxiety that you deal in everyday life. You're able to eliminate a lot of that noise and just kind of reconnect with nature. And the mental health benefits to that are just amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. So there's so much to be gained from that. Having a connection to nature definitely makes me feel more grounded. I have anxiety, but I also have some pretty bad depression. Being out in nature, somewhere beautiful, definitely helps with my depression. And as I said, it helps with my anxiety too. Once I've gotten used to it and learned to cope with the anxiety of camping alone, I've kind of been able to take that into the real world, and my anxiety has gotten much better because of that. Don't get me wrong, it's still there. It still exists. I still get anxiety, but not as much as I used to. And definitely not as much as I used to when it comes to solo camping. One of the big things for me was waking up the day after my first night of camping alone, which I really didn't sleep much, but when I kind of like became aware of like, oh, the sun's up, I can get out of my tent now, I realized like, wait a minute, I did it. Like nothing bad happened, and I survived, and I accomplished this seemingly insurmountable goal of surviving for the night out in the wilderness by myself. And just there's so much confidence that comes with that. Let's just talk about a couple of little tips on, if you're someone that struggles with anxiety, but you want to camp alone, let's talk about some tips to kind of help with that. The first one is to start small. You could try camping in your backyard for the first time, or just camping near a trailhead. You don't have to backpack 10 miles out into the wilderness to camp for your first few times. You can really start small, somewhere where there's like an easy bailout if it's not going well. You want to, try it in your backyard, and if things don't go well, you literally just get up and go to your bedroom and go to sleep. If you're at the trailhead, maybe car camping for the first time, you can always just jump in your car and go home, or jump in your car and go to sleep if you're worried about animals and you feel a little more secure in your car. Another tip is to pick a familiar place, somewhere where you're used to and you have a lot of experience with it in the daylight. It's going to make those nighttime sounds seem less haunting. So go somewhere familiar if you can. For your first few campouts, I think that's a really wise choice. Also, it's a good idea to bring some comfort items with you as you're doing this like difficult challenge for yourself, for your personal growth. It's nice to have some creature comforts, a nice comfortable hoodie for at night, your Kindle or a book, some of your favorite snacks, just things like that will make you a little more comfortable. And the next tip is to be kind to yourself. You're doing something brave, you're doing something new and unfamiliar. So just be kind with yourself, and if you are struggling with it, don't get down on yourself about it. Just see what you can do to fix it. If you can't fix it, bail out and try again another time. There's no shame in that. You're not doing this to like prove anything to anybody, or there's no reason to push yourself beyond your limits. If you're not comfortable with something, then don't do it. Start small, build up to like what you really want to do. That was the case for me. Like I really wanted to travel by motorcycle around the United States to all the national parks. Obviously, it was really difficult to find somebody that could do that with me, time-wise and everything. So I had to go alone, and I had to get comfortable with camping alone because I couldn't afford hotels every night. So I had to get comfortable with that to reach my bigger goal. So I just took it in smaller steps and kind of worked up to that. You definitely get more comfortable with it the more that you do it, though. Anyway, solo camping has helped me immensely with my mental health, getting past that fear and anxiety, the initial fear and anxiety. It's been so rewarding for so many reasons. I don't miss out on things because I can't find somebody to go with me. I'll go by myself. I'm able to do that now comfortably and not freak out all night thinking about bears and mountain lions that are stalking my tent. Don't get me wrong, every once in a while that anxiety can creep in. I hear something out in the woods in the middle of the night when it's dark, something wakes me up and it sounds big. It's probably just a squirrel, but it sounds big. So it still does happen, but it's so much better than it was in the beginning. So I hope this has been kind of helpful for you. If you struggle with anxiety and you want to camp alone and reap the benefits of that, which are many, hopefully this video helped you a little bit with some tips and some insight on how I've grown with solo camping and anxiety. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye.